Take 2, episode 223, Below Average Joe's MMA podcast, and action.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast, episode 223, attempt number 1. I am one half of your hosting duo. I'm Noah Baker. I come to you from the great state of Indiana.
Yeah.
Not Hawkins.
No.
I'm watching Stranger Things season 4, people. I'm on the finale, so I have binge watched the shit out of that show since you've last seen me. I am from Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Right.
The man to my right, however,
Yes.
he comes from the great state of Ohio.
Yes.
So, Dominic, how are things going for you? Obviously, a lot's been going on lately. You got your master's degree now. You're doing a little bit of something with the bangs there.
I don't know what's going on.
I mean, I feel like you're kind of reminding me of like, do you remember the old like Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Yes.
I feel like this is your like Spider-Man 3 phase.
Spider-Man Part 3, I'm wearing the black.
Like, it has the emo cut. This is your version of being emo. You got a little bit of bangs showing.
Yeah.
How are you, Dom? I just want to know.
I'm doing good. It's actually funny. You talk about how you're in the great state of Indiana. I'm in Ohio. No, I'll be venturing over to your new state of residence tomorrow, the day that this episode's out. We're taking a little family road trip. We're still going to be far away from you. We're going to be about 2 hours away from you, unfortunately, or I would venture into Jeffersonville.
So you're going more to Indianapolis, perhaps?
A little bit, yeah, kind of central. It's a little small town with like a bunch of little mom and pop shops. We went there years ago when I was a kid. Metamora, Indiana. I believe that's where we're going.
There's a Metamora, Ohio, too.
There is, yes. But I guess there's like a little canal that runs through the town, and we're just going to go there, take a little day trip. Nothing to do. Parents are on vacation. We're getting out of the house for a little
Awesome.
bit. So, yeah, I'll be in Indiana tomorrow. I may even have to dabble into some sports betting myself when I'm over there and I cross that state border. But I'm doing well, man. We're heading into the weekend. The UFC is back in London, and I'm telling you, if it even half as much delivers as the first time in March, we're in for a great day of fights. Bellator's back for the first time in 8 years. Excited to see what their card does this weekend. And we get to break it all down along with some pretty big news, Noah. So how are you as we get going?
I'm doing well. You're coming to Indiana. This Friday I'll be back in Ohio.
Yeah, we're flipping.
I'll actually be kind of finishing up, moving out the rest of my stuff from Bowling Green, the town that me and Dom called home for at
many
least
years.
5-6 years. I mean, it's
long
what a journey it's been. It's kind of bittersweet, but God damn it, I got to get it out of there eventually.
Yeah.
This August 1st date that I have to be out came up very quick.
I'd say.
I was literally in the mountains last week, and I sat there, and my mom goes, my mom, great woman. I always have to preface that before I complain a little bit. She always has this way of just like dragging me back into reality. I like to live up in the clouds, and she just likes to pull me back in.
Right.
So I'm laying there outside in a rocking chair, just going like an
breathing
old man.
In that fresh air.
Yeah, I'm just having a good old morning, and she goes, "So when are you gonna move your stuff out of Bowling Green?" And I was like, "Fuck!" I'm like, if I don't do it next weekend, then I'm gonna be on a time crunch to do it the weekend after because I have to be out by a certain time.
Yeah.
So this weekend it is. That will make things a little dicey with catching all the UFC
shout out to
London.
The daytime card.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have one more than normal time, but it is what it is. I could make that drive Friday if I wanted to, but it's 4 hours. Instead, I'm going to cut it in half and do 2 hours to home, mom's house anyway. Another 2 hours to BG, stay at mom's Saturday, go back to Indiana Sunday. So, I have it all planned out. But because of that, I'm going to have to watch some of these fights a little delayed. It kind of sucks.
Through the car speaker,
Yeah, I'm going to be listening. My plan is I'll probably be leaving around the time the prelims start at noon.
Yeah.
I hope. That's my hope.
That's the plan.
I'm trying to get down there by the latest 10.
Okay, gotcha.
And we do have to get a U-Haul to get to get the furniture that you so graciously gave me.
The package deal.
Yes. So that furniture has no place to go, unfortunately, anymore. So we will be renting a U-Haul to take it to the dump, unfortunately. But because of that, that's going to cause, some time to do that.
Absolutely.
So then hopefully I'll be able to leave around noon. That means for probably most of the prelims, I'll be listening to them through my car speaker.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, I'll be able to
right on time.
I'll watch the whole main card and whatever else live, and then I'll have to go back and watch those fights later. But it's all fine. I get to watch Bellator live. Because it's a later card, so I'll be able to check all those out live. It is what it is. It has to be done. But I'm doing good, Dom. It feels kind of good to be productive.
Yeah, you gotta love it, man.
And honestly, we gotta just stop. No more side
pussyfooting around here. Yeah.
No more of this. We're going in, right?
Yeah,
There's no more lubing it up. Just stick her in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Dominic, before we do, though, I want you to remind everyone where they can find us on social media.
You can find us, the podcast, Above My Head, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, at BAJ_MMA Podcast. You can find me at DSlee14. You can find Noah at NTBaker_ Fish and Chips. Let's go.
Where is that coming from? Because you text that to me.
Isn't that like a proper meal over there in London, right? The fish and chips, and then they kind of have
I guess it is. I guess that is.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused. I didn't know if there was another meaning to that, but no, just a fine English cuisine. I see. So
absolutely.
Our main event of UFC London from the O2 Arena. We'll see Curtis Blaydes in his second main event this year following UFC Columbus.
Yeah, shout out.
He does come in, though, Dom, at a slight underdog, plus 110 via DraftKings as it stands. He's number 4 ranked heavyweight in the division. He'll be taking on number 6, 2 spots down, Tom Aspinall, also making his second main event of the year following the first UFC London card. He is at a minus 130. A lot of movement with this line in the days leading up. I remember seeing it a week or two ago, and it was kind of flipped. Blaydes was a slight favorite, Aspinall slight underdog. So now it seems like the tide is turning a little bit. My question for you to kind of start our discussion today would be about Tom Aspinall.
Okay.
He is someone that you have been riding high on for a long time. I'm a little late to the game on Tom Aspinall. You have been kind of telling me since we started this podcast, even before that, Tom Aspinall, I think you even said it on this podcast multiple times, future heavyweight champion. I don't know when you first said that. I want to say it was the Arlovsky fight. You might have even said it before that.
Yeah.
But you said, mark my words, future heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
But, Dominic, is this his toughest test against Curtis Blaydes before potentially fighting for that heavyweight title?
Absolutely. It has to be, right? Because everyone's toughest fight at heavyweight is against Curtis Blaydes. I feel like this dude, just his wrestling and grappling, man, you don't see it in the heavyweight division. The closest thing to it is a guy that's brand new to the UFC and Alexander Romanov, but he's still a ways back right now. Curtis has been doing this for years and years when no one else really has been at heavyweight. And for that reason alone, it is the toughest fight. And not to mention, Noah, if we remember, and Columbus that we got to see in person, Curtis Blaydes got some hands too. He knocked out a boxer in Chris Daukaus with relative ease 17 seconds into the second round. This is a great fight. It's a great test for really both guys because Curtis, the poor guy, has always been right there, right on the damn cusp of grabbing that title shot. And then he loses. 2 losses to Ngannou, a loss to Derek Lewis. Now he's got Tom Aspinall. He's fighting another up-and-comer. This is 2 in a row. Because Daukaus and Aspinall were kind of both on that race. Who's going to get there first to title contention? Tom Aspinall has jumped out in front quite considerably now. But can he get past Curtis Blaydes because Daukaus could not? So it's absolutely his hardest test. We haven't seen Tom really get tested with another grappler, with a wrestler, especially to the caliber of Curtis Blaydes. You got to think we're going to see it here. On the feet, I still think it's ultra competitive too, but the speed and overall boxing technique of Aspinall probably goes in his favor. But this really checks all the boxes. I think it's a huge fight. And for Curtis Blaydes to pull out the kahunas and go to London to be in Tom Aspinall's backyard, I think says a lot about Curtis Blaydes too. A guy that really hasn't been probably given the due that he's earned, dare I say, in the UFC. A lot of people kind of hit or miss on him, but Curtis Blaydes' Twitter did start in March, so don't forget Curtis Blaydes' Twitter is a thing now. But yeah, I love it, man, and it absolutely is the hardest fight for Tom Aspinall on paper, and I would imagine when he gets in the cage Saturday night as well.
Yeah, obviously a lot of pressure. I mean, he's kind of been here already. He did this just a few months ago. That was his first main event. Yeah. Before that, he hadn't been in front of a crowd of more than
1,000, I think.
Yeah, like 1,000 people, and he was main eventing UFC London with Alexander Volkov. Made it look easy there.
Yeah.
Curtis Blaydes, a completely different style matchup. He probably won't be able to go to the same old tricks that he did against Volkov. Curtis Blaydes, the best wrestler in the entire division. It's no doubt. That's his bread and butter. That honestly, you could probably call him one-dimensional, and there'd be a case for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with it, and I know that comes off like a big slight, but that's how good he is at what he's good at.
Yes.
That even if the rest of his game is not fully fleshed out, it doesn't really need to be.
Right.
Because he is so dominant at what he does. Now, he's obviously been on the receiving end of some pretty gnarly finishes, the Derek Lewis knockout, and then he's lost to Ngannou twice, who's the current heavyweight champion. That's it. That's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody else, it's not only he wins, he makes it pretty dominant. And sometimes it's not the most exciting fights to watch. You know, he is a heavy wrestler. Doesn't have many. He has no submissions actually in his entire career, so doesn't really play that kind of game. Not a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
But he does have good ground and pound. Let's not forget the elbows that put away Alistair Overeem back in the day. Never forget CM Punk was put on the main card against Mike Jackson over that fight. But
that's a tough one.
I digress. I love Curtis Blaydes. I love the skill set. I do think, though, Tom Aspinall is the more well-rounded fighter.
Right.
Tom Aspinall has proven that he kind of has it everywhere. And while we knew he had the makings of being one of the more well-rounded guys our heavyweight division has ever seen, I think what's been so shocking is while we were busy kind of throwing all these roses at Ciryl Gane, and rightfully so, Ciryl Gane is exceptional, we saw the holes against Ngannou at UFC 270.
Yeah.
Holes that we had not been prepared to see.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Aspinall is yet to show us that.
Yep.
And that'll be interesting in this fight. Will we see him vulnerable at all? Will there be a round where he's on his back and is not able to get up and Curtis Blaydes controls him, lands some nice ground and pound? Will he have to battle back from adversity? I would hope to see some of that. I really would. Because I really think that's kind of like it for him before I'm ready to say, give him a title fight. Now, if he comes in here and starches Curtis Blaydes, I'm not going to say, well, I didn't see him fight through adversity, so I guess he has to fight another one. But this has the makings, Dom, of a number one contender bout, a title eliminator bout. But the question is it? Because I don't think it is.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to really put anything as a number one contender fight in this division right now. You have kind of an interim title that's being toyed around with between Stipe and John. You have Francis on the shelf right now due to injury. I'd say probably, regardless of who the winner is, I'd say one more for sure. Either guy, even if it's a convincing win. Because dare I say, I feel like the winner of this fight is going to come out looking really good. I feel like this could be like one of those fights where someone really just shuts out the other opponent, no matter which side of the coin that you're leaning. But yeah, I'd say one more for both guys regardless after this one. It's just too hard right now.
It is. It's too hard to predict because will Stipe John Jones happen? I think right now the target for that is probably NYC in November. That's kind of probably the hope right now. But then you also have big matchups like UFC Paris has Ciryl Gane and Tai Tuivasa.
Of course.
Correct? And then what's our other? We have another big matchup, don't we? Unless this is the fight I'm thinking of.
Well,
it might be.
I mean, Derek Lewis fights Sergey Pavlovich next week, but
that one's okay. But that's not okay. I think maybe it is.
I think it's this one and then Gane.
I think this is the fight I'm thinking of. So it is like almost like a mini tournament, but what are we fighting for here? It feels like we're kind of fighting to survive and advance, which I don't think does this main event justice because I really feel like the kind of caliber of talent we have in the octagon for this fight is two guys with a win would be ready for a title fight. But
Yeah.
due to the current lay of the land, probably won't get it. And what a bounce back it is for Curtis Blaydes, not to overlook him here, because he is the guy playing the road warrior, right? He's the one that's traveling to London, going to basically the home arena of Tom Aspinall, if you will. He's welcoming that challenge when I wouldn't say he doesn't need to. Like, I mean, he's not in any sort of situation, I guess, to pick and choose. But, he's coming off of a great main event performance in Columbus. And remember, Dom, going into that, we felt like if he lost to Chris Daukaus, that would probably spell the end of. I was even saying if he lost in a significant enough fashion, I said the UFC might cut him altogether.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to say if he wins here in a second straight main event on this year, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight for a title.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy just what one win can do for your career. But the fashion it happened in was very impressive. It wasn't a snooze.
Right.
Could this fight be a snoozer? I really don't think so. I actually kind of feel the opposite of you. I actually feel like this fight's going to be ultra competitive.
Think so? I hope so. I hope that's the case.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing boring about someone getting their, getting their ass beat. I mean,
No.
It's entertaining, but I feel like Curtis Blaydes, I think, is going to have success in this fight.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he's going to have to go back to that well time and time again to get his hand raised. I don't think he's good enough on the feet to really hang with Tom Aspinall for extended stretches.
Right.
You might feel a little different about that, but it just, to me, what he needs to do, get that fight to the ground, hold position, and land opportunistic ground and pound. That's what he has to do to win. And Tom Aspinall needs to not be on his back. Mm-hmm. He needs to be, obviously, on his feet. He has a great technique. He could probably put Curtis Blaydes away if it stays on the feet long enough. And I don't know what Curtis Blaydes' defensive wrestling is like, but it'd be very interesting if Aspinall even got a takedown and perhaps was able to put on a submission. Curtis Blaydes has never won or lost via submission, so very interesting. He just has none of that, even though he's a wrestler. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But, I guess that's anything else for this main event, Dom, before we move on?
I was going to quickly ask, I guess.
Please, go.
In this fight, because you have number 4, number 6, but Curtis, we've kind of seen it all. He's had 15 fights in the UFC. We've seen him at his lowest of lows, the highest of highs, big wins, big losses. Tom Aspinall here coming in with more questions surrounding his overall game, being in there with like his hardest competition to date. The pressure, I feel like, more on Tom here. Not only is he closing as a favorite, quick note, shout out James Lynch, by the way. I heard him say this on the Die Hard MMA podcast today. Keep an eye on these lines. Curtis Blaydes is currently a plus 110 underdog. If it closes come Saturday with Curtis Blaydes still as the underdog, that would be the first time in all 15 fights that he would close as a dog, which is crazy. Crazy to think about. But when you kind of look at all the storylines here, questions to be asked on Aspinall's side, can Curtis Blaydes stop a young guy and get that big win to put him close to a title again? Are you kind of siding with more pressure on the Aspinall side in his home land, in his backyard, or is there more pressure on the veteran and Curtis Blaydes to stop another young guy?
I firmly believe the pressure is on Aspinall here.
I would agree.
I think Blaydes has kind of cushioned himself a little bit with that win over Daukaus. I don't feel like he's fighting for a career here, like even if he gets starched out there. It's not going to – obviously a win is what you want to do, but for him, I think the UFC, you've got to probably respect a little bit that he's willing to take this challenge on. Yeah. I know him and the UFC have not always been on the best of terms, so that's obviously an element, but it's got to speak to something that this guy's welcoming that challenge. He's traveling abroad, going to the guy he's facing's homeland, essentially. Yeah. So I firmly believe the pressure is on Aspinall, but I'm not focused too much on that because, Dom, I felt like there was more pressure on him in his last main event.
And he made it,
made it look easy. So I don't feel like the pressure, I don't feel like the lights will shine too bright.
Right.
I think it simply comes down to who's the better fighter here.
I love it. I love that so much.
Co-main event. Originally, Darren Till's supposed to be in this spot. And it's unfortunate that he's not, but what an opportunity it is for one Chris Curtis.
Wow.
29-8, but only 3-0 in the UFC. This guy has had to scratch and claw for every opportunity. And he finds himself in the co-main event on one of the biggest cards of the year. Mm-hmm. And he's opposite number 8, Jack Hermansson, the Joker, taking on Superman, I guess, if you're going off of his the picture he put on Twitter. So, Dominic, these odds are very interesting to me.
Uh-huh.
Minus 115 for Jack, minus 105 for Chris Curtis. I guess that would make Chris Curtis the slight favorite right now.
Close. Dog. He's closer to plus money.
Correct. Sorry. Yes.
But this has been
I'm glad I'm glad that I have you here to keep me sane. Jack, a very slight favorite, but it's essentially a pick 'em here. Right. Minus 115, minus 105. Does that surprise you at all? Because as good as Chris Curtis has looked in his 3 fights, and he's looked damn good. He's fought Phil Hawes, Brendan Allen, finished both of those guys, and then had a really gutsy, just awesome decision win over Rodolfo Vieira. Great takedown defense. Just looked really good in that fight. He's looked phenomenal in his 3 fights. But this is a pretty big jump to go from, well, in my opinion, it's a pretty big jump.
It's
just
big.
Because, I mean, your fight, I will say the competition was very solid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, most guys don't come in and fight Phil Hawes, Brendan Allen, and Rodolfo Vieira in your first 3 fights. But you're going from that to, and you're still unranked. Yeah. And now you're fighting a top 10 guy in Jack Hermansson, who's been here, done that for a long time. This guy fought in Bellator for a long time before that, so all he knows is high level competition.
Yeah.
Is the odds surprising to you at all? I know you're a big Chris Curtis fan, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, shout out OHIO. If there's one thing, man, I've learned in 7 months, or nearly 7 full months of betting on this show, that you guys have been along with us on this journey, momentum plays a big role in the way that these odds are. And for that reason alone, I'm not too surprised. I really thought it was going to be about like this, to be truthful. Maybe a little bit more, maybe like a minus 125, minus 130 for Jack, but really nothing more than that. And I think it's also because Chris Curtis has kind of shown in 3 fights a pretty well-rounded skill set, and Jack is kind of that guy that we've discussed as good everywhere, not necessarily like great in any one aspect. And Curtis is kind of the same way. When you're talking about a guy 26-26 and defending takedowns in 3 UFC fights, and Jack Hermansson probably better on the ground than on the feet, right? That's safe to say. Can he get Chris Curtis down there? And then on the feet, Chris Curtis has great power, and he can go 3 rounds over the course to do it. Jack Hermansson has lost stand-up battles before that we've seen, even in his fight earlier this year with Sean Strickland. So when you look at all that, I'm kind of okay with what these odds are. And for a betting perspective, you get value on either guy, whichever way you're leaning. So I like it a lot. I think it's a great stylistic matchup. And for Chris Curtis to jump on after fighting 2 or 3 weeks ago, go across the pond to London to fight Jack Hermansson, who's also from Europe, big balls. I mean, I love it. This is a huge opportunity for him, but a guy that his career probably needs to get some light shined on. He's retired 27 times. He's 35 years old. He's been in the PFL season in 2019. Like, this is quite the story, especially should he come in here and beat Jack Hermansson.
That would be pretty monumental for him. What a just last year and a half it's been for him.
Yeah.
And to me though, this fight is so unpredictable.
It is.
And every fight is, but I am having such a hard time trying to put it in my brain like how this fight's going to go. Yeah. There's so many elements. Not only is the matchup unpredictable if both guys came in here fully prepared for the other, Jack Hermansson has been a bit of a 500 guy as of late, but still a tough out anytime he's in there. While Chris Curtis is the guy with the momentum on his side, but hasn't quite fought this level of competition. But then you do look at the fact that Chris Curtis is taking this fight on 3 weeks' notice. Yes, Jack is as well. Jack was preparing for a fight, though. Chris Curtis coming out of a fight camp, that probably helps him that he was able to kind of go straight into another one. It's just, there's a lot of elements here. And it's hard to kind of figure out who sort of gets favored where, I guess. Like, how does this benefit? Does it benefit Chris Curtis? Because, again, he's kind of prided himself on being the guy that steps up.
Yep.
Short notice replacements. It worked out against Phil Halls and Brendan Allen. And then even when he fought Rodolfo Vieira, I mean, he looked great. And the takedown defense was the huge takeaway from that. Honestly, stylistically, I have a hard time seeing where Jack Hermansson is like going to win this fight, if I'm being honest. Now, Chris Curtis, not much of a jiu-jitsu guy. He's only got one submission win in his entire career, also only has one submission loss. But, I mean, with that takedown defense he showed against one of the best jiu-jitsu grapplers in the entire company, does he really have to worry about Jack Hermansson taking him down? Jack Hermansson, I don't even remember how many takedowns he attempted against Sean Strickland, but it was very few.
I think it was 6 maybe over the course of 5 rounds.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's more than I thought, I will say. But he didn't have any success getting it there. And actually, that probably speaks more to my point, is that Jack Hermansson's super opportunistic with his jiu-jitsu. You saw it with Kelvin Gastelum. He kind of, I forget kind of how it went. It wasn't, I mean, it might have been a takedown that kind of led into
that weird scramble.
It was a weird scramble that he kind of got, and he got the leg. He's very opportunistic.
Yeah.
And really all of with his stand-up and with his ground game, those openings, he's very quick to strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah.
But Chris Curtis doesn't leave a ton of openings, and honestly, just like you've said, the momentum riding so high for him, I feel like this is like a great opponent for him if he is to kind of jump into this top 15.
Yeah.
And I may be underestimating Jack Hermansson a little bit, because if you look at his last 5 fights, he's 2-3, but the guys he's lost to, Sean Strickland was just in a title eliminator.
Yep.
Marvin Vettori fought for a belt a year ago. Jared Cannonier just fought for the title.
Yeah.
And then he's got wins over Edmund Shabazian, who I know is not as impressive of a win now, but it was a
at
good
the time.
win.
Yeah.
And then he's got a win over Kelvin Gastelum, which was a weird one, but he got that submission very quickly. I mean, it was a weird one, but truthfully, he's a tough out, but I just don't really see what he's going to do to win. Dominic, do you have any idea kind of what the game plan could be for Jack in this?
It's definitely interesting. You have to think he wants to get it to the ground, but again, can he against a guy in Chris Curtis that has shown literally has 100% takedown defense so far through 3 fights? Not to mention Chris Curtis trains with Sean Strickland, and Jack couldn't get Sean Strickland down. So, and again, that's kind of some MMA math, but it's all storylines, right? I don't know. I think it's tough. It really is kind of a perfect fight for Chris Curtis to get on short notice to crash into the top 10 and get an opportunity. And for Jack, yes, it's winnable, but really, like, if he doesn't get it on the ground, we've seen him get outstruck by people that aren't necessarily, like, remember his fight with Marvin Vettori? Like, they were on the feet a pretty big chunk of that fight, and he got outstruck by Marvin Vettori. So
that is true. I didn't think about that. I mean, are we overestimating how good Chris Curtis is on the feet, perhaps? Like, he's a hammer for sure. I mean, he hits with the Vieira fight was interesting because he wasn't able to actually throw with full power, so he kind of had to win off his technique. But he was going up against a guy, and I mean, he's going up against a guy who has virtually zero stand-up. Well, Vieira impressed me a little bit with what he showed in that fight.
He looked better.
This is a guy who came in jiu-jitsu champion, not known for his stand-up. Jack, when he fought Sean Strickland, not a very exciting fight. He got outpointed the whole way, but he was never out of it, I guess. And I mean, I guess you could say the same about the Vettori fight. And I mean, Cannonier kind of just
knocked him out. Yeah,
Cannonier fucked him up. But those two opponents I just mentioned, yes, neither of those guys are winning any. Well, Sean Strickland, great striker. Marvin Vettori not going to win any striking awards, but it does just make me wonder if maybe I'm overestimating. This is why, again, it leads to me not really knowing how to evaluate this fight, because I love the run Chris Curtis is on, but how high can he fly, Dom? And I just, I love that we're getting the chance to find out. It just, maybe I'm underestimating at the same time Jack Hermansson. It's just, I'm sure, we could do this for every fight. You never really know until
Of
it
course.
happens. But this fight, just more than most, feels completely unpredictable to me, and that's why I can't wait for it.
Flip a coin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Moving on, more from this card to come, but we do have a little bit of Bellator here in the headlines.
How about that?
Our main event for Bellator 283, coming to you from the Emerald Queen Casino in Tacoma, Washington.
That's right.
We'll see the number 3 ranked welterweight in the world, Douglas Lima, look to get back on track after 3 straight losses. He takes on the man right behind him, clipping at his heels, number 4, Jason Jackson. So, Dominic, championship title picture, a bit up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Amasov is literally fighting a war.
Yep.
Understandable
Of
that he
course.
is not fighting right now. But we do have a new interim champ, Logan Storley, who controversially got that decision win over MVP earlier in the year, back when Bellator was actually having fights like 10 years ago.
Right.
So, Logan Storley, your interim champ, Bellator's made it pretty clear, and I would say rightfully so, that Amasov will not probably be stripped of the title anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think that's good. So you kind of have this picture where Logan Storley's kind of your defending interim champion. Right
I
now.
know. This could be interesting.
Then you got MVP, who some people would probably say should get a rematch against Storley, but now in August he is bare knuckle boxing Mike Perry.
Yeah.
So, Dom, the question is, Douglas Lima, even on a 3-fight losing streak, taking on Jason Jackson, is this somehow going to end up being a title eliminator? Is the winner of this fight going to fight for that interim title?
I know. We could see an interim title get defended. You don't see that very often. I would say it leans more so, should Jason Jackson win, I'd say he would get Logan Storley. He's won 5 in a row. This could be 6 if he finishes the former champion Douglas Lima. The momentum's there. The younger guy, the bigger guy. And I think, he's a guy that doesn't necessarily finish all that many fights. On this win streak, all 5 of them are via decision. Douglas's losing streak are all via decision, so do with that what you will with those numbers. But I do think should Jason Jackson win with that win streak, a fresh face at the top, I would definitely say he would get the title shot or the interim title shot. Should Douglas Lima win, do you put a guy back in there again after losing 3 in a row? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But I would say besides Jason Jackson's favor here.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be hard to kind of sell a lot of people on a Douglas Lima title shot when he's lost 3 in a row and then gets 1 win. But, I mean, Douglas Lima is such a big face for Bellator that it wouldn't surprise me. And then you kind of look at what's behind him, like Neiman. It's a great division. Yeah. But like Neiman Gracie, I believe, he hasn't fought since his loss to Logan Storley, I believe.
Great fight, too.
Yeah, and then you got Andrei Koreshkov, who had that amazing knockout. Hey, I wouldn't mind seeing him get another title shot, former champion. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you give him at number 6 the title shot or not. So,
right.
I would definitely say you're right. Jason Jackson firmly feels like a guy that with a win, maybe him and Storley run it for the interim title.
Yeah.
Feels like if Lima wins, this title might just be on ice for a while MVP goes in bare knuckle boxes. So, when it comes to this fight itself, Dom, I'm going to be honest, with Douglas Lima, as great of a career as he's had, I'm sensing a lot of shades that I felt when Tyron Woodley went on his downward spiral's not the right word, because I mean where he started to
the decline.
Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of similarities. Douglas Lima, just an exceptional fighter at what he does, but he seems cautious, like super hesitant to really go for it. He's not throwing as much as he used to. I mean, that rematch with MVP was just not a great showing for either guy, but especially him. It's just not been a great last year and a half, 2 years for Lima. It feels like the writing's kind of on the wall. But Dominic, 42 professional fights for him. Jason Jackson is 19. That's over double his opponent here. Is there anything in there that could be a benefit to Douglas Lima in this fight, or is it simply just a sign that, okay, he's a lot older than Jason Jackson in terms of fight years, and maybe, again, writing on the wall of the result here.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the fight years, right? We talk about that a lot with some of these guys because Douglas Lima only 34 years old compared to Jason, who's 31. But when you've got 42 fights, 20 of which in Bellator against top-level guys for many, many years, it all adds up, man, and you have to go and decline at some point. So, yeah, I still just think that the youth, the freshness of Jason Jackson is going to play more of a factor rather than the experience of Lima. And we just, over the course of these 3 fights, it all started. We were watching at the apartment in BG when he went up a weight class, Douglas Lima, to try and beat Yegard for the 185 belt. And since then, it's just been kind of a decline of just skill.
Yeah.
The fights aren't really playing out very fun. That fight wasn't very good. You already mentioned the MVP rematch was not very good. So when the performances aren't even really that competitive alongside you're losing them, I just don't think it's a very good combination to have. So momentum is on Jason Jackson's side, but you still have to go in there and you have to show up at the end of the day. So we'll see.
It's very true. I will say I feel like Jason Jackson has a style that's kind of made for this kind of fighter.
Yes.
And I'm not even saying who has the striking or grappling or wrestling advantage, because more what I mean is Douglas Lima is an aging fighter who has seen his better days, who is on this losing streak, who has to be feeling the heat of the moment that he needs a win badly. But like Tyron Woodley previously and other guys, not just Tyron, I don't want to pile on Tyron, but they kind of lose that spark where they just become very hesitant to even get into the fire. Like Robbie Lawler had that for a while, where he just seems so hesitant to even go for it. Mm-hmm. And I think with Douglas Lima, you're having a lot of that. Jason Jackson, I feel like, has a very safe style. He doesn't make many mistakes. And yes, that leads to a lot of decisions. But I feel like with a guy like Lima, who is so desperate for a win, but not really fighting like a desperate man, I think he could just cruise to a victory here. I really do. Mm. But I hope that that's not the case. I hope we get a much more competitive fight than that. I think Douglas Lima has it in him.
Yeah.
But I would have argued Tyron had it in him. You saw when he fought, I hate to keep comparing the two because, they're their own guys. But when Tyron fought Luque, he had his moments there.
Yep.
Yes, he ended up getting finished. And I think that's the fear when you're that guy who lost his title and you're having these losses pile up. But, for Lima, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because, again, he's the much more accomplished guy of the two right now. It's just we have to see something we haven't seen from him in the last couple of years.
There you go.
More on this card to come. But let's get into some fight announcements. That's going to be the bread and butter here, right, Dom?
Yeah.
Now let's start with one. This one's for Dom. This one's for the Dominators out there.
Oh, yes, this just happened.
This is for Dom's army, for his fans. Zubaira, Tukhugov is having apparently some visa issues, so he is unfortunately out of his bout with Nate Landwehr at UFC San Diego. But never fear, guys, because in steps David Onama.
That's right.
I swear every time someone falls out, David Onama's stepping in.
Yes.
And honestly, I love this fight. Not only because David Onama, obviously, Dom's prized
possession.
I was gonna say possession, but your prized cage fighter,
yes.
if you will.
Yes.
And I actually love Nate Landwehr too. I believe he's from Kentucky, I think, or Tennessee or something like that.
I think he is.
I think this is going to be a cracker of a fight. Just truly just phenomenal matchmaking right here.
Yeah, when David Onama accepts short notice fights, it's like that Rick and Morty, you son of a bitch, I'm in. That's what he is every time.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
This is going to be his 4th UFC fight. 3 of them have not had proper training camps or even more than a couple weeks to train for. Yeah. This is violence. These two have been scheduled to fight before. This was supposed to happen in Columbus, Noah.
I know.
It was supposed to happen there. But better late than never in San Diego on a pretty good card in its own right. I'm excited. I'm very excited. It's going to be violent. It's going to be fun. Those two guys step into the cage. There's nothing else that's going to happen. So can't wait for it.
All right. Here's the big one. We warmed you guys up. UFC 279 on September 10th has its headliner.
Wow.
No title on the line. Simply put, the UFC are sending the hitman in to finish the job. This is Mr. McMahon, and he's got like the big red machine cane with him.
Yeah.
And they're trying to take out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Khamzat Chimaev will be back in action in the main event, 5 rounds. He's the number 3 ranked guy in the division, by the way, and he's taking on Nate Diaz in what will be the final fight of Nate Diaz's UFC contract. Let that simmer.
Yeah. I still haven't let it simmer. This came out yesterday.
So yeah, this came out yesterday from when we're recording. The group chat had one of its roughest nights, I must say.
Yeah.
There was a lot of terrible takes going on by our friends. It's okay. I love you guys. Not your best showing.
Yeah, that's the fun of it, right?
That is the fun of it, because I love just fucking, they line them up and I'm just knock them down. But anyways, I don't know where to start here, Dom, because there's just so much that we can dig into, both good and bad. Let's start with the positive here.
Okay.
This is a massive fight.
It's huge.
An absolute massive fight. I was a little surprised that it was announced as a main event, but the moment it did and I saw the reaction on Twitter and how Nate was immediately like number 1 trending, I went, oh yeah, they made the right choice. Yep, that's a main event.
Yeah.
And honestly, I love it for Khamzat that he's getting a main event showing.
First one.
It's going to be his first one. You could tell that regardless of Nate's situation, they really want to make Khamzat kind of a huge deal. And honestly, they've done everything right to make him that way. He's got his Fight of the Year contender with Gilbert that really solidified him as a true contender. Before that, he had those squash matches where he's taken out our beloved Reese McKee and John Phillips, among others. And here he goes fighting a legend of the sport in Nate Diaz. It's so many storylines, but this is a positive spin, admittedly.
Yeah.
But we got to start there. We got to start with the positive. It's a huge fight. Undoubtedly going to be probably the highest selling pay-per-view of the year unless they really pull out something for November.
Yeah.
But even if it's Jones Stipe, I think this might outsell it. Even if I don't know what's going to be underneath it.
Yeah.
But I do think regardless, we've seen that even with the casual fans, it's the top of the card that sells, right? So
Yep.
To me, it feels like it might be the biggest main event, the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah.
Dominic, I want to start there because I gave my kind of positive spin on this situation, and this is kind of a way for us to soften the blow later when we undoubtedly get into some of the more less appealing parts of this matchup. Do you have anything to add in terms of kind of the positive spin, like how you feel? Like you you tend to be a little bit more positive leaning on it seems like a lot of things than I do. I'm more of a curmudgeon, I guess. So,
yeah.
Are you feeling it maybe a little bit more positive in certain ways on this fight, or are we ready to kind of dig into the?
I mean, yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, the positives are this is massive, and it is going to be a massive payday for both guys, which is great. All well and good. But really, outside of that is where the water begins to get murky, and you kind of trickle into that deep end of the pool. So, I guess we have to jump off the diving board, Noah.
Yeah. So, and I'm not gonna rant like I thought I was going to. Like I thought I was gonna have one of my classic rants, that everybody seems to love so much, but I don't know if I can.
Well, thank goodness we've talked about this for months, at least, like Nate's whole situation.
Well, I guess that's the other positive, right? What a relief it is that Nate finally has a fight.
Something.
Like it's been over a year.
Yeah.
He's been wanting to fight for months. Finally, it looks like we're going to get through this, and he can go on his way and do whatever he wants to do after, hopefully be happy doing it.
Yeah.
Now, the less appealing parts of this matchup, let's start with the UFC's involvement in this matchup being made. This is where I thought I was going to really rant. And I guess you still can, because let's be honest, the UFC have basically put Nate on ice for a year when they shouldn't have. I mean, they really shouldn't have. if the reason was because Khamzat wasn't ready and that's the matchup Nate wanted so badly, well, was he opposed to a Dustin Poirier fight? Was he opposed to a Tony Ferguson fight? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think that the UFC kind of, whether or not Nate really was all on board with this fight, I think the UFC were all on board with it for obvious reasons. Look at the odds right now. Khamzat's like a minus 1,200 on DraftKings. So the UFC know what they're trying to do here. They're trying to lessen the value of one of their bigger stars, but a guy who is not going to be providing that value to them any longer come past September 10th. So it seems they couldn't get him to re-sign. They're giving him a tough fight on the way out. I hate it. I hate that that's such a big part of this story.
Yeah.
It's not the first time that this has happened. There's been a lot of cases, if you go through the history of the UFC, of other promotions, where guys on their way out, they get these tough fights, sometimes buried deep on prelims. Nate Diaz, his first run in the UFC, he was fighting on the prelims, like for his last fight. Andrei Arlovsky, after he had lost the belt as heavyweight champion, his last fight on the prelims. Like, stuff like that, you just kind of know it's the less favorable side of the sport that as much as we want to turn a blind eye to, and maybe sometimes we do, you kind of have to acknowledge it when it's so in your face like this.
Very much so.
Now, I guess that's kind of the UFC's involvement here. I'm not trying to steal all the talking points, Dom. I'll tag you in here in a minute because I'm gonna need a break. But that's sort of where the UFC's involvement has been in this matchmaking. Now, I thought I would rant about that, but then it seems like the way this is being portrayed, even from Nate Diaz's camp, is that he's called for this fight.
Yeah, since April.
So, in that sense, it's hard to be mad at the UFC for giving him the fight, but now I'm not stupid. Dom's not stupid. If I'm not stupid, Dom's especially not stupid. He's a master of thugonomics, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
I'm just a bachelor, you know. We know that this isn't just a sport. Like as much as we love embracing the sport, like and talking about it like a sport, putting the champion against the number one contender, like always doing it that way, you know, having competitive bouts, like good matchmaking, trying to make the best fight the best. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it always goes. And I say unfortunately, but there is a balancing act that MMA plays that other sports don't really have to. You watch a boring game of football, nobody really cares that it's boring necessarily. If you're watching your favorite team, you're so invested in your team doing well that whether or not it's a boring game or not doesn't really
You're like
matter.
searching for those silver linings, you know,
right.
still.
So it's like, but then you compare that to like when we've been critical of Israel Adesanya for his fight with Cannonier, it's because we weren't entertained.
Yep.
Even though, if you look at it as a sport, he won a fight pretty handily, added another notch to the win streak, the title defense streak, just solidifying himself even more as one of the best fighters of all time and one of the best fighters today. There's a balancing act because it's a sport, but it's also got theater involved with it. You know, it's almost like a circus. It's like you mix the best parts of a sport and a circus together.
Yeah.
This is like the most circus style matchup you can make because truthfully, this matchup makes zero fucking sense.
Nope.
0 sense if you view it as a sport.
Yep.
There is no reason for unranked Nate Diaz. No matter what we think, I think Nate Diaz probably a top 15 welterweight. But it doesn't matter. He's unranked, coming off back-to-back losses to Jorge Masvidal and then Leon Edwards.
Yep.
Which really you could argue that, especially the Leon Edwards one, which
also made no sense.
Made no sense either. Nobody complained about that one. I'll hold my breath on that though.
Yeah.
A different rant for a different time.
Right.
But he once again is being matched up with the number 3 ranked guy in the division, a guy who is definitely looking at title eliminating fights, looking at number one contender fights, looking at potentially a title fight with the winner of Usman Edwards. Dom, I'm going to tag you in here. Makes no sense.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't at all. That's where it comes into play, right? Because again, from the sport, from a competitive standpoint, from the rankings, who's going to fight who, how are we going to get to the title shot, how are we going to clear up this division, determine who belongs where in the top 15, in the top 10, in the top 5, it doesn't make sense. But when you add in what Noah said, the theater, the entertainment value, it checks all those boxes for people, and it's got that casual
trending on Twitter.
Trending on Twitter, guys. Not just like in an MMA portion of trending. It was trending definitely domestically, but it might even have been a global
thing. I don't know
thing.
how trending works exactly, but it was one of the biggest stories.
when Brett Okamoto hit the send button on his tweet, he knew he was about to break the internet, basically. Yeah. And that's because Nate Diaz is a super casual, fan-friendly fighter that is going to attract eyes to the sport. And Khamzat is slowly but surely getting
there.
It's a little harder for him, but in a sense, the UFC's really pushed him very quickly, very hard. So he's getting there, and that's why they're putting him with Nate Diaz, because, again, should he beat Nate Diaz like he is, let's be quite frank, supposed to do, he's going to get all those casual fans that can no longer watch a Nate Diaz fight to watch a Khamzat Chimaev fight, a future superstar of the sport, which is what the UFC and Dana White and the boys have seen from him since he took his first step in that octagon. And that's where kind of that whole other side that Noah hinted toward comes into play here. So theatrical entertainment makes all the sense in the world. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to bring a lot of eyes to the sport. Competitive MMA-wise, makes absolutely zero sense. That's the balancing act.
And I guess in a way, we were all clamoring for the Dustin Poirier fight. Does that make
poor Dustin's just sitting at home, by the way.
Yeah, and really, he and that might be a story for another time, but he really is kind of.
He's a big loser of this situation.
He is, and I think the UFC's kind of strung him along a little bit. But that matchup really didn't make a ton of sense from a sport perspective.
Yeah.
If it's at 170, makes a little sense,
bit more,
right? Because both guys unranked, and it's just a really fun fight.
Exactly.
Not every there's kind of a checks and balances here, but I just don't get me wrong. The fight's going to come, and I'm going to be super excited because it's massive.
Yes.
And as much as I can get annoyed, and Dom, you probably are there with me, with some of the casual takes that we're going to see in the lead up.
Of course.
Is Skip Bayless going to go on there and talk about Nate Diaz having a great sumo-style wrestling?
Yeah,
he might.
Yeah.
But it feels like an inevitable outcome. But when has that ever been the case in MMA, really?
You never know.
That's truly the beauty of the sport. That's the beauty of the theater, the circus act, is that nothing is as predictable as it seems in MMA. One shot changes a fight. So I understand if there's a lot of people who are not happy about this announcement. I'm not thrilled about it. Again, I prefer, for a main event, I would much prefer to see a title fight, a number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah.
Have Khamzat fight a Colby Covington or something like that here. Or even, dare I say? Am I going to say it?
I think you're going to say it.
Bilal Muhammad here.
Yeah.
But make no mistake about it, Nate Diaz is much bigger draw. He is the reason most people are going to buy this pay-per-view. And I will be excited just to see all that interest in this fight. Mm-hmm. And it's already been very interesting. Some of my friends who are more on the casual side, I had a couple guys being like, Diaz is a plus 800? Being shocked. And I'm like, guys, I know that's a little crazy. But Khamzat smash.
Yeah. I want to ask you real quick. When you look at this fight, because we know the build-up's going to be crazy. There's nothing the UFC does better than promotion.
Will it be crazy? I guess it could be crazy.
Well, I'm going to say...
Okay, go ahead.
Because we're business guys, right?
Yeah.
From a marketing standpoint, how does the UFC even go to spin this fight? I'll be very curious to see how they do it.
Well, they're
I
definitely
really
not going to do the Vince McMahon Stone Cold Steve Austin angle.
Right.
Of course, Dana White filling the role of Vince
Yes.
McMahon in this.
Close friends, those two.
That's true. Very true.
That's interesting.
So it will be interesting to see how do they market it in terms of like the promotional materials, like the hype videos or whatever. It's probably going to be mostly focused on Khamzat is literally the future of the division.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz is the gritty,
The dog.
He's the past, but they're going to show how tough he is, and they're going to show him not giving a fuck, flipping off the bird, all that. It's going to be like gangster versus gangster.
It is. Yeah.
Because Khamzat, I mean, that dude's about it. I mean,
he is.
Make no mistake. I feel like I've said that a few times.
The shit he's saying right now is pretty savage.
And let's just think about this, Dom. When the press conference time comes, I know, and yes, I will try to reserve my expectations because Nate, for all the great lines, I mean, the Conor McGregor stuff, playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
Yeah.
He's like, some great lines. I don't give a fuck, motherfucker.
He's a man of few words, though, right?
He is someone who doesn't talk trash unless provoked.
Right.
Now, will Khamzat kind of get in his ass a little bit? I don't know. Khamzat is a man of few words himself.
True.
So it's going to be up to kind of the people asking the questions to instigate it. That's really what it comes down to.
That's how it is at every press conference anyways.
Like a gnat flying around me.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see how these two gel when it comes time to kind of promote this fight. Like, what will there be some words? Will it, are they going to ask, is Khamzat going to be like, I smashed this?
He's saying this is going to be Nate Diaz's funeral. For this contract.
So I will be curious to see, like, really how these two kind of promoted in the lead up. The lead up to this fight should be exceptional.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It should be. And I hope that they're going to put a really solid co-main on this, like a Dustin and Dariush, or Dustin Michael Chandler. But
Dustin versus insert name here.
In that way, if someone falls out, maybe we end up getting Dustin and Nate anyway. But I do think that for all the negatives I'm saying, it's very clear we're going to watch this fight, be excited about this fight. It does just hurt a little bit when you kind of understand.
The way that you get here, to this point.
Yeah. It's a tough pill to swallow, but swallow it we will.
Amen.
Also, not to be
people don't know that this happened, I don't think.
So UFC 280, the following pay-per-view, this is the one happening in Abu Dhabi, UFC 280, October 22nd, has added two massive fights, Dom. This is the one, of course, main evented, vacant lightweight title. Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, this card's looking nice.
Our co-main event, the men's bantamweight title will be on the line. Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. This was originally planned to be on UFC 279.
Yep.
That's obviously changed with the Khamzat Nate fight. So that's now your co-main event on this Abu Dhabi card. And not to be overlooked, our feature bout as of now.
Shit, this one's more attention than the title fight.
Former bantamweight champion Petr Yan is taking on Sean O'Malley.
This is hot off the presses when we're recording this.
Hot off the presses. What the fuck is going on here?
This is crazy. Sean O'Malley was on DC and RC today, Wednesday, when we record, and said, I'm so excited to announce. And like, dead ass, really well spoken for Sean O'Malley, by the way. It was kind of a nice thing announcing it and how excited he is about this opportunity, being on a big card, but getting the number one ranked Petr Yan after having that no contest just a couple weeks ago against Pedro Munoz. Boy, I expected Sean to get Pedro again or someone around there, top 10.
We were talking about Ricky Simone.
Yeah. Not Petr Yan. We were talking about Sean and Ricky, Sean and Adrian, we were kind of like, oh, which one's more realistic?
Yeah.
This one wasn't on the damn list. This one was so far out of left field. And I know they had been tweeting and whatnot, but for it to be announced, guys, this is, for anybody saying Sean O'Malley handpicks fights, that narrative's out the window. Because
true. Very true. I mean, I think there was maybe a case for that in his come up. Like, maybe he was being given favorable matchups.
It's gotten a lot better.
But you can't say that now.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Not for a while. I felt like he's kind of shaken that.
And this is crazy.
But let me ask you this. I know this is exciting. It's big. Let's start with this fight because we don't want to overlook the bantamweight title fight.
I know.
But I feel like we did kind of talk about it already. Maybe that's why we're focused on this. Do you like the matchup? Okay, Sean, Pedro Munoz have a very competitive fight for a round and a half. A round one where Sean lost on all three judges' scorecards. And then eye poke, no contest, Pedro unable to continue. It's not like he was dominating that fight.
No.
Or obviously didn't win that fight. That was a no contest. And then he's getting the number one guy in the division. And he's still ranked number 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you like the matchup or do you just answer me that. Do you like it? Like, are you happy with the matchup?
Call me crazy, but I'm kind of here for it, man.
Look, guys,
and
what did
I'm
we
not
just
one
say?
to do that.
What did we just say? Look, it's a balancing act. Wow. It's kind of funny how we were just shitting on the Nate and Khamzat matchmaking, and I mean, this isn't that far
Sean
from
is
it.
passing up a lot of guys.
Yeah. And I mean, Petr Yan was kind of the odd man out. And
that's true. That's very true.
And in the sweepstakes, and like, was he really going to take a fight with like Rob Font or someone like that? Like, Sean O'Malley is the biggest fight for him. Like, for Petr Yan's perspective, this makes all the sense in the world.
Oh, yeah. I can see why he took this. 100%.
You take this fight 10 times out of 10 because it's such a big name for a guy who's still unproven.
Yeah.
And you're coming off a disappointing loss, of one that everybody thought you were going to win for your title.
Yeah.
So, honestly, a win here, even against a guy who's unproven, who's ranked 13th, could put you right back in the title discussion in a very stacked bantamweight division. From Sean O'Malley's perspective, does it make sense? It does. It does make sense. But, God, what's the balls on this guy? I mean,
wow.
To welcome this challenge right now, I mean, this is a big hill to climb for Sean O'Malley.
You want to talk about a jump,
Petr Yan, I was saying before he lost to Sterling, I may still say it, I felt was pound for pound, skill for skill, tit for tat, the most talented fighter in the entire UFC.
Yeah.
I know he lost to Sterling, so maybe that changes.
But he's still up there.
He's still my gosh, that guy is so talented.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley is an exceptionally gifted fighter, but a lot of it's also potential. I mean, some of it's unproven. I mean, his best win up to this point is Holly and Paiva, correct?
Yeah, it is.
After that was the Munoz fight. And
it is, yeah.
Who's to say he was going to win the Munoz fight? I mean, I probably, if you made me bet live, I probably still would have put money on him to win that, to end up winning rounds 2 and 3 and maybe even getting a finish, but probably not. But still, that's a lot of projecting.
Yeah.
What did we see? He was down. He was down on the cards.
Yeah.
It's just a huge... You already had a big enough hurdle and potentially a rematch with Pedro or a Ricky fight.
Or even if he goes up and fights like a Sanhagen, another guy that's kind of on the outside looking in, that's still a huge hill to climb in itself. But he gets Petr Yan. That's crazy.
I feel for each fighter it makes sense, yet the matchup itself is kind of a fucking puzzling one.
And it's crazy that we're saying it is 10 out of 10 for Petr Yan, but in a sense, it still is a risk to a certain degree.
I mean, it's a risk because he needs a win, but also, again, I think he's banking. Well, I think
he just believes he's that much better.
Yes, I do too. I mean, he's banking a lot on the unproven factor for
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley. I mean,
And how can you blame him? Right?
Sean's toughest test, Marlon Vera beat him.
Yep.
Pedro Munoz was
Won the
up
first
on
round.
the cards.
Yep.
I mean, if you're Petr Yan, you take this fight 100 times out of 100. And honestly, for Sean, I think even if it's maybe misguided confidence, I think you do take this fight because you win this, you're in a title fight.
Well, no, think about it. Like, stylistically, this is going to be a striking battle.
It is. And I mean, nobody does that better than Petr Yan, but not Sterling. But, I mean, Petr Yan's just so good at mixing it up, switching stances.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
He's
of the
exceptional.
best.
Yeah.
But Sean O'Malley going to have a big advantage in terms of reach and
He's going to look
size.
big.
It's going to be very interesting how that plays out. But I wonder. I'm actually surprised the UFC made this fight
Well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for these negotiations. Oh my
because
gosh.
you got to know that it's a big fight. So I'm sure the UFC enjoy the fact that they're able to put this fight together and make it its third fight on the pay-per-view or whatever. But man, I mean, you got to wonder. This is a guy, Sean O'Malley, that you're kind
This
of
is one of your
banking
stars
on.
in the making.
You're banking on him eventually being like a cash cow. And not too long ago, you were pretty slowly bringing him along, giving him some more favorable matchups. And then, yes, the Holly and Paiva, I thought was even though he made quick work of him, I thought that was a pretty solid matchup for him at the time. And then the Pedro Munoz fight, I thought was a good matchup. It just, based off what we saw for the Munoz fight, I'm shocked UFC were like, yeah, let's do this.
I know. It's crazy.
I'm really shocked.
And
they
it
didn't
came together
bump the
very
brakes.
quickly,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Poor Pedro Munoz, man. He's probably pissed off that he, I know a lot of Sean O'Malley fans think, oh, he's probably so happy because he, he just quit or whatever they're going to say.
Yeah, now he's going to probably have to fight Ricky for all we know now, you know?
Yeah, so what a just mind-bending set of circumstances.
That UFC 280 card in Abu Dhabi is...
And the co-main event now.
I know,
Aljamain
back to it a
Sterling.
little bit.
We talked about it already, but
It's a sick
Aljamain
fight.
Sterling, TJ Dillashaw, this is an amazing fight. Actually, because I don't know if you remember, we did. I'm gonna have to kind of piece it together. We did a video towards the beginning of the year where it was like a fight, or no, it was one of the
Fights
round
we want to see in
tables.
2022?
No. I thought that's what it was, but no. We did a round table at the beginning. Well, now it's a verbal sparring, of course.
Right,
but
of course.
Back when it was a round table, we did it at the beginning of the year, at the very end of last year. And one of the questions was, what are 3 fights, if we could make, we have to see in 2022?
You're right. Yeah.
My number one was Yan versus Sandhagen, I think. I think that was my number one. Obviously, Yan lost to Sterling. So, literally...
You mean Yan versus Dillashaw?
Yes, sorry. I meant Yan
Right.
versus Dillashaw.
Right.
Now, obviously, Sterling beat Yan,
Yeah.
so now he's in that spot. But Dominic, as far as title fights go, when we're talking about the sport side here, I don't know if you get 2 better title fights than this. I mean, Charles and Islam is, that's probably
that's
biggest,
everything.
That's my Super Bowl for 2022.
That's the biggest title fight of the year, yeah, so far.
And then the co-main event you get, I know a lot of people are kind of feel different ways about Sterling as the champion, as TJ as the number 1 contender. I think TJ earned his shot.
Yes.
He never lost the belt.
Nope.
He took his time off due to his steroid EPO suspension. Once that suspension was up, he came back and won. Whether or not you think he did or not, he got the nod on the judges' scorecards over Corey Sandhagen. He's the rightful number 1 contender right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, co-main, main, I don't think it gets any better than these 2.
No, I couldn't agree more. And don't let it be mistaken. Aljamain Sterling's performance over Petr Yan in the rematch was stellar.
Very true.
No one
surprised
saw
everybody.
that come. Surprised everybody. That fight is so good, man. You got Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley underneath that. You got Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Yes, that one seems way far-fetched out compared to the hype of these 3. But that's a great fight too, man. Regardless if it plays out that way in the octagon, we're being spoiled. We're being spoiled.
We are.
That's what it is.
That's it for the fight announcements.
We still have more shit to do.
We got one little tidbit.
Frankie.
This almost feels kind of pale in comparison now.
This is very small, yeah.
Frankie Edgar, I believe he was doing an interview with somebody. I can't remember. I think it was Brett Okamoto, maybe.
Well, I think this was an interview with Ali, speaking on behalf of Frankie, because he's his
okay.
manager.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. I didn't watch the interview, but I thought the soundbite was very interesting. Frankie Edgar, understandably realizing retirement is on the horizon, he has requested his retirement fight, Dom, to be at UFC 281 in New York City.
Yep.
And even mention Dominic Cruz as a potential opponent. Now, Dominic Cruz, of course, headlining an upcoming show. Was that UFC San Diego? Is that the one?
Yep, that's the one with Cheeto.
He's headlining with Cheeto Vera. So my question for you is, like, do you think that's a reasonable matchup to want? Or do you feel like there's maybe another matchup out there that might be a little bit better?
Before Cheeto and Dominic Cruz got made, yeah, I love it. I would have loved everything. But now that he's booked with Cheeto Vera, Dominic Cruz has made it pretty clear he wants another run at the title. So if he beats Cheeto Vera, I'm sorry, Frankie, but he's not going to take that fight with you as much as I would love it. Now, if he loses to Cheeto, maybe we're talking. That could be something interesting. But I do like the idea of Frankie with another veteran that's been there and done that for many, many years. That's what Frankie should go out with. Absolutely put him on that New York card. There's only so many veterans in this division, I guess, though. This division's so
maybe like what about like a Sun Sal?
That would be good. That would be actually probably the next
Sun
best
Sal
thing.
still in the UFC. Like, those are two guys
that are
seen
on their
better
way.
days.
Yeah.
But not a fight that you're probably going to see. Hopefully, you wouldn't see Frankie get knocked out.
Well, that's winnable for both guys. You know,
It is winnable for both guys, but I don't think Frankie gets KO'd in that one. That's not how he loses that fight.
Yes, something like that. But frankly, Frankie absolutely deserves to be on that card to finish out his career.
My thoughts, of course, Dominic Cruz would be a bigger fight than a Sun Sal. But I'd honestly be a little like, okay, when I saw people talking about this tidbit around the MMA Spear today and yesterday, I don't like that people keep talking about Dominic Cruz like he is on the same, like,
dude. Yes, we talked about that before.
They're talking about him and Frankie Edgar like they're the same type and same situation.
Absolutely not.
I will not stand for the Dominic Cruz slander. It's unintentional slander, but it's slander.
Yeah.
No more. Yeah. Dominic Cruz, until proven otherwise, is an elite bantamweight.
He's a contender. Yeah.
A contender. A threat to win that title again, a third time.
Absolutely.
I've yet to see where to go. Where did all the show me the fight that tells me he's not that anymore.
Right.
He lost to Cody Garbrandt, one of the best performances you'll ever see in a title fight.
Yeah.
The Henry Cejudo fight, quick stoppage. I don't argue the stoppage, but Henry Cejudo, a fucking phenomenal fighter, one of the best ever.
Yeah. Come on.
I just can't. It's so unintentional. Like, people aren't trying to slander him, but it is. Like, he is. If he beats Cheeto Vera, he should be like one win away.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, if anything, if he beats Cheeto Vera, please, you want to talk about two legends fighting? I want him and Jose Aldo in my veins all day. That's the type of fight that I want.
So that's why, like, Frankie, for his situation, would a Dominic Cruz fight be big? Yes. But I also don't think that he would be very competitive in that fight.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Dominic Cruz finishes him. Probably not, which is kind of what matters here. Like, win or lose, you just don't want to see the guy get knocked out. You know?
Yeah.
But a Sun Sal.
I like that a lot. That's a good one.
Let's get into the rest, Dom. We got more fights to talk about here. We'll start with Bellator, our co-main event. This was originally going to be our headliner, Sidney Outlaw. Oh, yeah. Much respect to him. He stays on the card, gets bumped down to a co-main. It's a 3-round fight now. He's taking on a debutant in Bellator, Tofik Musayev. So Tofik Musayev actually has a win, as we discussed when this fight was announced, over the champion of this division, Patricky Pitbull. Mm-hmm. So clearly title eliminator vibes here, because if Sidney Outlaw wins, yes, you're fighting a debuting fighter, but guy who comes in with pretty big aspirations. They clearly believe in this guy, the promotion that is, and he has the wins to back that up. So Sidney Outlaw clearly taking this fight when he really doesn't need to because he already had the title shot.
Yeah,
but respect to him for doing it. I think win here, he firmly establishes there's nobody that can pass him up. He is the next guy. But for Tafik Musayev, he may come in here, Dom, get this one win. Is he a favorite in this fight?
He is a favorite. I was actually waiting for it to scroll there at the bottom. Okay. I believe Sidney closed at a +1. Let's see it right here in a second. I'm looking at the ticker. Sidney is a +135. So I knew Tafik did close as a favorite. He's -155. But again,
I was curious.
You know, if he does come in here and beat #1 Sidney Outlaw, he's getting a title fight. And not only because he's beating #1 Sidney Outlaw, because he has the history with Patricky Pitbull. Yeah. We talked about that one again, like Noah already said, and it just still remains true here. So if he comes out and wins, absolutely, the winner of this fight gets a title shot. It's that simple.
Well said. Feature bout: Usman Nurmagomedov, still like the best name to have as an MMA fighter.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
He's taking on Chris Gonzalez. Of course, Usman Nurmagomedov is of the Nurmagomedov, Abdulmanap kind of lineage. Yeah. I forget, is he like a
cousin maybe or something?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
That's how they roll out there in
right.
Dagestan. He's fighting Chris Gonzalez. Usman Nurmagomedov looks to be, the next lightweight champion, perhaps. I mean, you got these two guys fighting for a shot in the co-main event, but they may just simply be holding that belt.
Are they just keeping it warm? Yeah.
For Usman Nurmagomedov. Is there any, I guess, does this feel like an inevitability that he wins this fight, or does Chris Gonzalez offer anything to really combat kind of the hype?
I mean, -610 there says it all, because let's be honest, Usman Nurmagomedov has made it look easy in 3 fights in Bellator, 2 in a row in the first round via stoppage. Only 24 years old. He's just coming into it, man. He's not even in his prime. Chris Gonzalez, good record, but less experienced than Usman, which is interesting. 7-1.
Interesting.
Yeah, 6-1 in Bellator. So he's another guy that's kind of been molded throughout his entire career. We're going to talk about 2 other guys that have been the exact same way. But yeah, he's 6 years older. They're about the same size. What are you going to present to Usman that he hasn't seen, that he can't handle? He just looks that damn good. That's the problem. 14-0, 12 finishes. Come on, guys.
And I'm going to put a little gem on here from the prelims.
Please.
2 of the most promising young fighters in the entire promotion, but both just so happen to be in the middleweight division. Number 7, Romero Cotton, taking on number 8, Dalton Rasta. I don't know. You decide. Dominic, I think this is a fight. It's on the prelims, so you guys will have to watch it on YouTube.
That's ridiculous.
If you want to tune in. This fight should be on the main card for sure. This is really going to decide who's the future of that division for now.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for it. 2 guys that I've had my eye on for really since we've started watching Bellator. And the fact that they're fighting this early on in their careers is, I don't know if it's a shame or if it's just awesome. I don't know.
Yeah. This is good, man. Number 7 versus number 8. Both guys. I love the symmetricalness, the mirroring.
They're very
of one another.
Their careers mirror each other. They're symmetrical.
Yeah. Both 6-0. Both 6-0 in Bellator. Been in there since the start. Romero Cotton, Dalton Rosta. It's great. But Romero is 6 years the elder, regardless of the experience. But a phenomenal wrestler prior to transitioning to MMA, if I'm not mistaken. So keep an eye on that. We've got a guy that's finished 5 out of 6 in Cotton, whereas Dalton's only finished 3 out of 6, so he can kind of grind it out more. His last 3 wins have all been via decision. So it really is a fun fight. Noah's super pumped for it. He got me pumped for it. I'm excited to see how it'll play out. It does suck. Again, 2 guys that seem to be the future going up against each other now, but this is how we see it sometimes. It has to happen at some point. Here we go.
More from UFC London.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Paddy the Baddie.
He's even got us saying, if he got Noah saying it, that's saying a lot for Paddy right there.
Paddy Pimblett is our feature bout. He's taking on Jordan Levitt,
the Monkey
King.
Yes. Torque that ass, you know?
Yeah, so I've had my thoughts on Paddy Pimblett.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly what I've said, what I've had my rants about. It's not Paddy Pimblett himself. Paddy Pimblett himself has done nothing wrong. He's a great fighter. Comes from Cage Warriors, a legend of European MMA already, and he's just now making his way to the UFC. He's had 2 just electric fights already in the company.
Yeah.
He's been a joy to watch. What has been the sticking point for me has been the hype surrounding him. I feel like has surpassed where he is.
Yeah,
when people are calling for him to fight Tony Ferguson, it's like,
come on.
I'm getting Mickey Gall vibes, and I hate what's kind of happened to Mickey Gall because he seems like a very good guy, and he's had his ups and downs, but it's just I feel like Mickey Gall had a very promising career at one point, but just it's kind of stagnated.
Yeah,
tough matchups maybe sooner than he needed to be. It happens. Or Darren Till, another one who maybe was fast tracked. That might be a better example for here because European MMA. However, Dom, I feel like this time around, I'm not hearing a ton of that with Paddy. It seems like people have kind of chilled out.
It's been a bit quiet.
People are very excited, but I don't know what it is. I'm not seeing the crazy expectations and people acting like he's the next champion. Like maybe it will if he wins on Saturday, but it's making it easier for me to just kind of enjoy the run he's on for what it is. And this is great matchmaking.
It is great.
Yep. Jordan Leavitt has been very good in the UFC. Is his record 3-1, 4-1?
3-1 and a Contender Series win.
Yep, exactly. The slam over Matt Wyman.
Oh gosh.
Tough to watch. But Paddy Pimblett is, of course, going to be a heavy favorite here. Not as heavy as maybe, I don't know what his other fights were, but
it's definitely the smallest.
It feels more modest, and rightfully so. I mean, let's clear the air here, though, Dom. I'm going to put this in terms that you might be able to understand.
Okay.
If Jordan Leavitt were to win this fight and then twerk on Paddy Pimblett's lifeless body, that would only be the equivalent to playing a game of Call of Duty.
Okay, I see where you're going already.
You're having a great game. Honestly, you are on such a you're on a kill streak that you're about to get the airstrike.
Yeah.
The nuke,
Yeah.
And then someone no-scope snipes you.
Throw his 360 in even.
And then while you're waiting to respawn, they teabag your
they teabag me. That's what I figured you were going with there.
So that's just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
If Paddy Pimblett loses this fight
in London,
I understand that'd be massive, like big upset.
Yeah.
A lot of people excited to watch him in London. Crowd's going to be really into his fight. If he loses, it would be a massive just deal.
Yeah.
But if he gets twerked on,
dude,
post-loss, he only has one choice. He has to get back up and fight him again.
Do what Habib did after the Conor fight.
You cannot. I don't care if you get knocked the fuck out. Homie, you better get knocked the fuck out again, because there ain't no way that someone can do that kind of disrespect and it go like unchecked. Yeah. But unfortunately, he's doing it after whipping your ass.
Yeah.
Like normally people do some shit like that and you go, okay, I'm going to beat your ass. But this dude just got done beating your ass.
Right, so it's a little different. Yeah.
But you gotta get back up and you gotta be like, I didn't hear no bell. Well, you didn't hear no bell because you were knocked the fuck out.
Right. Also,
but it's time to just fucking get in there again. Anyways, I know I'm going
projecting a little bit there.
So go ahead, Tom.
I just wanted to say quickly, Jordan Leavitt. Sorry, I don't know why I said Leavitt. Jordan Leavitt bet on himself for this fight. But not only that, to win via submission.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
He's going to
try and do it.
Have you ever seen the video?
Oh, where's this going?
I wish I could remember what it's called, but it was like, I think I saw it on like Tosh.0 back in the day.
Okay.
And I forget what it's called, but it was some form of like a Brazilian dance where it's like this dancer. She wraps her legs around the guy's head and like slams his head into her ass like over and over again.
Oh wow.
Jordan is going to look to put a reverse triangle choke on Patty and then repeatedly do that.
Yeah.
Just rub it in his face.
So a reverse triangle choke twerk. First time ever in UFC history.
You have to fight him.
You have to.
But you just lost. But you have to. Like you have, whether it's in the streets, I don't know. But you got to. Like you can't. Anyways, okay.
Off the rails. Off the rails.
The fight itself, Dom.
It's a great fight.
I sense you agree that this is proper matchup, good matchup for Patty. When it comes to the X's and O's, what does Jordan Levitt have that maybe Patty's previous opponents did not?
The grappling to at least compete with Patty. But the thing is, Patty is known for how good of a grappler he is, but he's came into the UFC and always wanted to do a scrap. We saw a little hint of it in the second fight.
Not the submission win. Yeah.
Yep, a little bit hint of it. But this is what this kid is known for. So if this fight goes to the ground, I'm actually super excited. Jordan Levitt, very strong, very physical, has 6 submission wins. Patty has 8 submission wins. Patty's going to be comfortable off of his back. I think Jordan is comfortable off of his back. I just really, if it's on the feet, though, Patty all day. You have to lean Patty all day.
I would definitely lean Patty because I really don't know much.
I think it's more of a speed thing, even.
Like, for Jordan Levitt, I don't feel like he has very good stand-up. From what I've seen, I feel like it's been pretty lacking. He's a green fighter, in areas, and that's his area where it's okay, he's a ways away from a finished product. His striking is what has held him back from being, his grappling is phenomenal. But Patty, I would definitely favor, but I also recognize that Patty leaves himself open a lot.
He does.
So, who's to say that there couldn't be an equalizer introduced? I'm leaning Patty in this fight. I definitely think that he's the more skilled. I think overall, I think he's the more polished. And, even where Levitt excels, I'm not exactly sure if he's even going to be better than Patty there. So
I really do want to see Patty a lot on the ground. I really want to see that Cage Warrior shit that he came in with the hype. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very fun for as long as it lasts. Mm-hmm. God, the scenes. That you'll be able to hear a pin drop if Patty loses this fight.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Following that, pretty big matchup here. Number 11 ranked light heavyweight Nikita Krylov looks to snap his. Is it?
He's lost 2 in a row.
2 in a row. And he's going up against a guy also looking to get back to winning ways. A unretired
for the second time,
Alexander Gustafsson, back in his original division, the division he's known for at light heavyweight. I don't know what to think of this fight.
No, this really came out of left field when it got announced. 2 guys that have been in the UFC for a long time. Nikita Krylov came in when he was 21 years old in 2013. Gus debuted in 2009. Back when the UFC, I was looking when I was taking my notes, UFC was still naming their damn pay-per-views at that point. So he's been in the UFC for that long, man, and been in 2 phenomenal title fights with Daniel Cormier and John Jones. Even has fought for a 3rd time for the title. Unfortunately, 0-3 in those fights. He's retired twice. He made a debut at heavyweight in 2020. Crazy to believe that was already 2 years ago. Got heel hooked by Fabricio Verdum. Retired again. Now he's back. Like Noah said, I don't know what to make of it. He's obviously going to be the bigger guy than Nikita. Nikita Krylov, hardly ever in a boring fight. The guys went the distance 3 times in 40 fights.
It's still the most mind-blowing fact to me that I think he has 27 wins.
Yeah.
26 of them are by finish.
26 by finish.
And what's so weird was I literally said it on this podcast. I had this image of Krylov as a kind of a boring fighter.
Yeah.
When all he does is just scrap.
He had that 3-fight kind of thing that I think was fresh in mind. That he went.
It was fresh in mind. And I think I just hadn't thought of him too much before that. So luckily a viewer called me out on my BS. I was able to kind of turn it around with him. But
what do you make of this? Gus coming out of retirement again.
So
it's always kind of.
I want to believe Gus still has something left because even the heavyweight debut, he kind of just got caught. He kind of got it kind of just happened. You're going up against a guy, Fabricio Verdum, who's so lethal on the ground. You kind of fall into a takedown. It was a weird scramble. He's on his back. It was bad news. Like the one place you couldn't end up, you ended up in the first 2 minutes of the fight.
Yeah.
And it was by somewhat, I don't want to say lucky, but it was a scramble, kind of a wild.
It's like the
scramble.
Hermansson Gastelum when we were talking
A little
about.
bit. And when he retired at light heavyweight, I felt like he was leaving while he still had plenty left. I think he lost losing to Anthony Smith, if memory serves me right. And Anthony Smith is still one of the best in the division.
Yep.
I want to believe Gustafsson has something left.
Yeah.
And this is I think it's a great matchup to find that out because neither guy is doing too hot.
True.
I mean, Gustafsson's he's 3 straight losses.
Yep.
Obviously, those date back 2020, the last
all
time
via
he
finish,
fought.
too.
Yeah, all via finish. One of those was for the title, John Jones. The Anthony Smith one was probably more competitive until it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fabricio was just like a blink and you miss it. Krylov is coming off the Paul Craig submission loss, correct? At the last UFC London show.
Yep.
Mikolk, obviously.
Of course. We'll talk about him shortly.
Yeah, so Krylov, it feels like he's not the best version of himself anymore, for sure.
Yeah.
He seems to, I'm seeing the clear signs of a regression.
It's fight years for him, man, too.
It is. I mean,
he's only 30.
Because he's been super active.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not even the losses. It's even his wins are kind of like the Johnny Walker win.
Yeah.
Yes, Johnny Walker, good fighter. It's a solid win. But the fight just was so just unfulfilling. And Krylov just isn't that fighter. So it's like kind of a sign, I think, of things to come. But he is going up against a guy who is clearly best days are behind him, Gustafsson.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if Gustafsson, is he taking this fight because he just...
Does he want
when
to
you
fight?
retire multiple times and you come back, it usually doesn't bode well.
Right.
Usually, and maybe it could be because you need the money or because you really do miss it. But, there's a reason that the retirements keep coming.
Yeah.
For a guy like him who, it's not like he had all these losses. He had back-to-back losses when he retired the first time. Tries to come back at heavyweight, loses again, retires again. It's not BJ Penn losing 10 fights in a row and, contemplating retirement.
Yeah.
He felt like he still had plenty left when he walked away. So was his heart not in it anymore? Well, is it now?
Exactly.
There's so many variables here that it's a hard fight to really get a grasp on. Yeah. But I do think it adds to an excitement because, again, it might be a dull-ass affair.
It could be.
But I also feel like more than likely someone's going to have a pretty big showing is what I think.
I think someone's going to go down. Yeah, that's what I think.
Anything else on that fight?
That's all I got. We'll talk about it on the bet slip.
Yeah. Meatball Molly is back after her knockout of the year contender against Luana Carolina. And she's taking on Hannah Goldie.
Yeah.
So interesting enough, Dom, Molly McCann, a heavy favorite. One of the bigger favorites on the card. Minus 390, I believe, as we're recording.
Yeah.
And Hannah Goldie, not a pushover. I mean, a pretty tough fighter in her own right. Do you feel like these odds are inflated purely because of Molly's last performance? Or is that really just how you evaluate this matchup, that it's Molly McCann or bust, essentially?
It's got to be that last fight coming into play here. She looked great against Luana. It was in London. Then, of course, the knockout. It's on the knockout of the year list. But minus 390 to plus 320 on the comeback for Hannah. Oof, that's steep for women's MMA, man. Especially here, it's they're kind of borderline ranked, but they're not ranked. There's a lot of people at women's fight that are have done a lot more that are not ranked that are above these two. So I like the fight. I think it's fun. Molly's never been in a boring fight. So that, I am happy with. And, of course, she's a great striker. I think she has the advantage there striking. But other than that, in terms of a well-roundedness, Hannah Goldie's not bad, guys. She's 6-2, 1-2 in the UFC, but it's been against good competition. She won on the Contender Series. She's only 30 years old. So I think it's a hard test for Molly. Molly should be the favorite, but again, minus 390, it's almost you can't bet straight up minus 390, but do you even want to risk a parlay on a minus 390 when it's, this type of fight here? This is kind of an iffy one, guys.
And I think if you want to look at it from a betting perspective, since I don't think either of us have any action on this one, we can kind of talk about it like that. Molly McCann, 16 professional bouts, 10 of them have went to a decision.
Yep.
Hannah Goldie, 8 professional bouts, 6 of them have went to distance. What I'm getting at here is not, bet on this fight to go to distance. Well, the odds for that are pretty stacked as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But to me, why I avoid this fight is this is likely going to be a very close decision fight either way.
True.
So truthfully, I mean, that kind of adds to maybe putting something on Hannah Goldie. I think Molly McCann should win this fight.
I agree.
She's got a lot of momentum on her side with that last. I'm sure confidence has got to be an all-time high. Mm-hmm. But let's be clear, that win, while exceptional against Lima, was a bit of an outlier of her career in the UFC. She has been popular in the UFC before, but she was kind of popular, and I felt like for a while there we were kind of questioning how much Molly McCann had left in the UFC. Mm-hmm. She lost back-to-back fights, Taylor Santos, Laura Procopio. It felt like her career was kind of at a crossroads. I remember hearing people online kind of saying she might retire soon. Mm-hmm. But then she's bounced off 2 great wins, Ji-Yeon Kim and Luena. So she's definitely revitalized. She's kind of put a little bit of life into her career here. So we'll see how far she can take that. Yeah. But I'm hesitant to fully commit when, Hannah Goldie, I think the 1 and 2 is a little misleading.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I do think that this has the makings of a super close decision fight. And maybe the judges get it wrong. I mean, you win 1 round and another judge thinks you won a second, and all of a sudden you won a fight. I mean, it's just
like when I cashed that plus 220 with Vanessa Demopoulos, baby.
Well said. Lastly, here
we go.
Paul Craig.
That's
It's me, Cock.
Insert it. You already know.
You are sporting the traditional Scottish kilt. What is under? Yes, please.
You want to see? It's my
Your kibbles and bits?
It's my cock.
No.
He's taking on Volkan Oezdemir, number 8 versus number 9. And Dominic, this might be my second or third most anticipated fight on this card. I am very excited for this fight.
Yeah, this is super fun.
It's hard to be not excited for a Paul Craig fight.
Absolutely.
Because this guy
puts his cork on the table.
He does. And win or lose, sometimes he does both in a fight.
True. He just did it.
He snatches a win from the jaws of defeat, and sometimes he's winning a fight and all of a sudden he loses. This guy is so exciting to watch. But even though we talk about some of the losses, he hasn't done it in a while. He's won 4 in a row, I believe. Most of those are probably via finish, if not all of them.
Every one of his wins ever has been by finish.
Thank you for the stat guy Dom there.
That's right.
And here, though, what I love about this fight is clear stylistic.
Oh, yeah.
The matchup here. Yeah. Paul Craig, we know what he's going to want to do here. You may rock him, you may knock him down.
Or knock him out.
You may. If you go down into his world, though,
you're done.
He's going to fuck you up with some head triangle. He's going to snap your arm. He's going to elbow you to fucking Timbuktu.
Yeah.
And then you got Volkan Oezdemir, former title challenger.
Talk about a fast rise.
Some literal boulders for hands. The guy, fast rise, like you said, hasn't had the best of runs since the loss, but very competitive in most of his losses. The Yuri Prohaska fight, he nearly won that fight at points. And it's because his power is just exceptional. And even when it comes to a technical affair, against Ankalaev, he was kind of a step behind. But, his fights with he's fought Rakic and Dominic Reyes, correct?
Yes, he has fought both of those.
He lost to Reyes, he beat Rakic. That Rakic one has got to say something about what he's capable of. And then the Reyes loss, I remember, was very controversial. A lot of people thought he won that fight.
Yeah.
But regardless, clear division in how this fight is who's gonna want this fight to go where. Dominic, are you feeling any certain way about this fight?
Oh, the people are gonna see it here in just a second, buddy, on the bet slip.
Let me just throw the last little fun thing about this. Volkan Oezdemir, Paul Craig has 16 professional wins. Volkan Oezdemir has 17. 13 of those wins for Paul Craig of his 16 are by submission.
Yeah.
12 of Volkan's 17 wins are via knockout.
Striker grappler, huh?
It ain't going the distance, I can tell you guys that.
Yeah, again, bold
Knock
last
on
words
wood.
potentially.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll never forget. Let's move on to the bet slip, Dom, because I'm jerking you around a little bit. I'm trying to make you give your betting thoughts when it's not even time for it.
I know, I'm trying to build the anticipation, the drum roll, but
the-
here we go.
What the fuck's wrong with me, you know? Just
Yeah, take it easy.
So clearly, once again, color-coded. The green come from DraftKings. The blue come from FanDuel.
That's right.
So Dominic, start at the top. This is you right here.
Yeah, these are me. I had 3 money line plays this week. Noah left me hanging. Didn't have one single money line this week. Guys, I just want to preface it. UFC London Part 1 in March was, I believe, my best personal betting weekend of the year thus far. If I'm not mistaken, it's definitely up there if it's not. So I'm hoping to carry that momentum in. And the guy at the top of the marquee is the same main eventer as well. But it starts with Mr. Paul Craig because he also fought on the first UFC London card. And he was a plus 160, I believe, at that time.
I think it was 160.
I've never clinched my asshole more trying to get a bet to cash than that one. But he clinches a win from the depths of defeat, pulls off the triangle choke in the first round against Nikita Krylov, also on this card. I love all the repeaters on here. And now you're giving me plus odds again? Because if you go back and watch at the time, nosebleeds for UFC London Part 1, I said the same thing. You're giving me plus odds on Paul Craig, who's on a 6-fight unbeaten streak, 5 of those via all of his wins via stoppage, but 5 of them are wins. And he's going up against Volkan Oezdemir, who I get it has the power to put Craig down. I realize that. I get that it's part of the risk. But it's momentum here for me, and Volkan has not looked like the Volkan of the title rise that he had when he fought DC in 2018. So for that reason alone, if you're in Paul Craig's realm, and even if you're not starting there, he will bring you there if he wants you there. He's going to win this fight if it's on the ground against Volkan. There's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts. So yes, am I banking on Paul Craig to get it down to the ground? I am. But I believe in him because he's done it 5 times in a row, and I think he's going to do it again here. Plus 135. That'd be a big start to the bet slip here. We move in to minus 105, Mr. Chris Curtis. Me and Noah both rode with him against Rodolfo Vieira, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So
Jump ship.
Yeah, I think he was minus 135 in that. He closes here at minus 105. We talked about the odds earlier in the show. Again, I just feel like when we were breaking down the fight, when you really analyze it and where it's going to take place, if Hermansson cannot get this fight on the ground, which Chris Curtis has proven, again, 26 of 26 in the UFC with takedown defense, it shouldn't be a problem for him to keep it on the feet. And if it stays on the feet, I just think his striking is a little bit more ahead of Jack Hermansson to get him definitely to a decision win, but I could see a stoppage in this fight on Chris Curtis' side as well with a knockout. The dude's got 16 of them in his career, but he's not afraid to go the distance as well. So I love that play there. And then the third and final money line play, again, it cashed at UFC London in March. I'm banking on it to cash again. Minus 130, Tom Aspinall. I couldn't get him at plus odds this time around, but pretty close to plus odds, so I'll take it. Listen, guys, this is a sick fight. I love everything about it. It checks all the boxes for me as a fan. I'm more Aspinall. I understand that. But again, regardless of how much I like a fighter, I don't place money on them unless I truly believe they can win. And I believe that Aspinall is the more well-rounded guy. As Noah said when we broke this fight down, on the feet, he's quicker, he's more technical, carries just as much power as Curtis Blaydes to put someone down. And if it gets to the ground, I'm very intrigued to see how he can do against Curtis Blaydes, because Blaydes has shown no weaknesses with his top pressure. His ground and pound is second to none. Aspinall, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I know it's not always the answer to a top-heavy wrestler, but I do believe that if it does get there, he can get back up, or he may just keep it from getting there in the first place with some takedown defense. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out. I'm willing to take a chance on Tom Aspinall because I believe, and ever since day one I've believed, that he is the future and a future title holder. Those are the money line plays.
Oh, Dom, always so eloquent with his betting picks. I apologize. I will be much faster here. Craig Oezdemir does not start round 3. 1.52 units at minus 152. Yeah, I mean, are you telling me that's?
I mean, you just said it, right?
You telling me that's not smart pick right there? I mean, come on. Herbert Nelson does not start round 3. Me and Dom both teaming up for this one. I actually kind of piggybacked Dom when he sent this to me. I was like, oh, that one sounds pretty good. Minus 138, so 2.38 units in total. 1.38 of that, of course, being mine. Jai Herbert and Kyle Nelson both have had tough runs in the UFC, but both probably better than their records suggest. Especially Jai Herbert for me. I think he's just had a tough draw.
Yeah.
1-3. He looked really good early against Tuporia. He had a big reach advantage against Tuporia, and that kind of gave him fits for a while until Tuporia sent him to the land of wind and ghost. Here he has a 6-inch reach advantage over Kyle Nelson, but Kyle Nelson does have more of a well-rounded game. Does not start round 3. Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I love it.
Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson under 2.5 rounds. I don't know what's going to happen in this fight, but I don't think it's going to a decision. I think someone's going to come in here looking rejuvenated, revitalized, whatever it might be. It's minus 126. Again, this was a tough card for me, to be honest. Like, I really didn't love this card from a betting perspective. I'm kind of hanging myself out to dry. A lot of minus money for me here. I tried to even that out with the parlay later, but it's just, I like to make it a little more of a balance with the plus and minus money, because if a couple of these don't hit, I mean, I'm really working from behind. So
yeah, very much.
They're risky, but you know, you just got to go with the smart plays here. And Krylov Gustafsson under 2.5 rounds. I mean, it just seems like a very reasonable pick for guys that just aren't known for going the distance.
Right, exactly. So I'm going with another under. I'm going back to the main event. Curtis Blaydes, Tom Aspinall, under 3.5 rounds at minus 175. I think that's great value. I really do, because Tom Aspinall has never went to a decision ever in his career. He's had 14 professional fights. But for Curtis Blaydes, contrary to popular belief, guys, he does have 11 KO TKOs, and he's been finished 3 times by knockout. So out of 19 fights, he's went the distance, I think, maybe 4 or 5 times. 5 times, yeah, that's the math. 5 times he's went the distance ever. And I do think that, again, should Tom Aspinall lose, I think it's because Curtis Blaydes is going to look really good, which means I think he looks really good on the top, which means he's raining down ground and pound. And I think he can actually get Tom Aspinall out of there via finish. And it 3.5 bleeds into the 4th, which I feel comfortable. That gives me quite a bit of time. Blaydes, this is going to be his 6th main event, so he's had 5 prior. Only one has went the distance, and it was with Alexander Volkov that went the full 5 rounds. So I like that one there to end early. And should Tom Aspinall lose, hopefully make up a little bit more ground so I don't go completely in the hole with a unit. And the final single play, Krylov Gustafsson inside the distance. I didn't get as ballsy as Noah. I wanted the extra 2.5 minutes, I guess. To be fair, I guess I just didn't really see the other play. But we both think it's not going the distance. Krylov's went the distance 3 times in 36 fights. Gustafsson's went the distance 6 times in over 25 fights. So someone's going to get finished. I don't think the loser's going to look not great, meaning the winner should make it look relatively easy.
Well said. Parlays. We got 4 of them. I'm going to go ahead and do my 2, and then we'll end with your 2. So the big one for me, the moneyline parlay, Paddy Pimblett and Tom Aspinall. I could have done Tom moneyline as like a single, but again, I wanted some plus money on here. These are 2 guys I'm very confident in on this card, even though, again, Curtis Blaydes is a real threat. He is, and he should not be overlooked in this matchup. But I feel like Tom Aspinall's time is here. I believe I was late to the party, but I firmly believe this guy is a title challenger in the making, and I think a win over Curtis Blaydes is going to be the thing that really shoots him into that title conversation, if he's not already. Paddy Pimblett, again, I think Jordan Levitt's a very proper opponent for 3rd fight in UFC, coming off the wins he's had. But I also think Paddy Pimblett's just a more well-rounded fighter, might even be better at what the Monkey King excels at. No twerking will be done in the cage unless Paddy decides to steal his finishing move. I don't know.
He could do that.
That's plus 149, so I do get some plus money there. So I'm hoping, parlays though, they're dicey. But the last one, this one I got a little quirky for this one. 1.39 units at minus 139. I did Muhammad Mokaev money line and Nathaniel Wood money line as the first two legs. Again, two guys that I highly favor to win their fights. I will say Mokaev's opponent is a sneaky guy. Charles Johnson, I believe is his name. He was an LFA mainstay. Actually has a decision loss to Raw Dog Royval, so shout out to him. But a guy who's on a great win streak, has fought good competition for regional, regional cards, all LFA. But I do think Mokaev is the future of the flyweight division. I think that dude's just so talented. I think he gets it done. Nathaniel Wood is taking on Charles Rosa.
Yes.
Charles Rosa is 5-7 in the UFC. He's never really out of a fight.
Yeah.
But it's not been pretty as of late for him. He's been kind of used as a stepping stone for a lot of these guys that are looking to really put on a good showing before maybe a top 15. Mm-hmm. Bryce Mitchell kind of tossed him around at UFC 249. Nathaniel Wood, I do think, is a guy that's very talented striker. He's just very good fighter. And I do think that a win over Charles Rosa could open some eyes to maybe and open some doors for him that otherwise people have sort of been kind of sleeping on his name. And I think he's kind of deserving of some hype in this European scene that's on the come up right now. In the last leg, well, I guess I do have action on this fight. And that's because Molly McCann, Hannah Goldie, I have over 1.5 rounds. I literally wanted a third leg on this one to make it worth my time. And I said, what fight would I bank on going over a round and a half? And this was the fight I saw, and I was like, I think that one surely goes over a round and a half. Obviously, Molly McCann showing some signs of some real knockout power. Hannah Goldie, surely only 2 finishes in 8 fights, but Molly McCann also 10 decisions in 16 fights, I think I said. So not a high finishing rate for either woman. But, over 1.5 rounds. You can still get a finish, but pretty sure Molly got her knockout late in round 2 against Luana.
It was late round 3. It ruined my parlay.
That's right, late round 3. So I think it's pretty solid. Minus 139. Book it.
I like that a lot. And finishing it off with 2 money line parlays. I really like this method for me. It's been more successful than me trying 3 and 4 leggers. So the first one, I'll go with the better odds first. So minus 139. Muhammad Mokaev, much of the same to what Noah said. I do believe this guy is the future of the flyweight division. Sneaky underdog play if you want to get risky for Charles Johnson. It really is. But I think Muhammad's going to show that there are levels to this game in the debut for Charles Johnson in the UFC. And, of course, Patty the Batty Pimblett. I think it's going to be a pretty cool fight. I really hope we get to see Patty on the ground. But I do believe, again, the more well-rounded fighter, better everywhere. If it stays on the feet, I think he gets it done pretty quickly and pretty easily. Dare I say the easiest UFC fight that he's had thus far. Again, if
that's a big. I mean,
if it stays on the feet,
I guess in a way it's not like a big if because he's nearly been finished in both fights.
So true. Just don't get rocked, and it's the easiest.
But it is ballsy to say that because it is his toughest fight.
Yeah. If it goes to the ground, different story.
I like that though, Dom, because it's really not that ballsy when you consider he got rocked both times. Yeah. But I like it.
He gets it. And then the last one to finish off the bet slip, minus 147, Mark Casey. Interesting career, interesting guy, super athletic, freak specimen physically, but he's never quite put all the pieces together. Yeah. But he sure the hell did at UFC Columbus. When he destroyed Slava Claus right in front of me, I saw a bet wither away from the bet slip, slowly but surely. I had Slava Claus by finish in that fight.
I got to tell the viewers the story about
Please
that.
do. You were right next to me.
Well, this is true. And also, just to be clear, Dominic, I remember, had the hardest time pronouncing his last name for a long time.
Yeah, I did.
Which is, how do you pronounce it, Dom?
It's Jacasey. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you. I was going to put you on the spot because I thought you kept calling him Mark, and I'm like, oh, this motherfucker still doesn't know how to say his last name. I think one time he was talking about him, he's like, Mark Diakisi, and I was like, huh? Who are you talking about?
Yeah.
But Mark Jacasey, yes. The story is, not only did that ruin Dom's bet of Slava Claus by finish, but Dominic was so... He was playing Call of Duty the night before.
Oh, dude, yes.
And then some guy in the chat, and Dominic never chats. He's never,
I kind of just do my thing.
He keeps to himself. But this guy gets on there and goes, "Who has a sport bet? Like, hit me up with a sport bet." So Dominic gets on the mic and says,
I said it really. I went, Dillashaw slept Borschlev by decision. He goes, what? What?
You were like trying to say, it's oh my God, now I can't think of the name that you, Kennedy and Chekawani. So you're just like rapid fire getting those names out.
Yeah.
But you say it, that guy's like, who the fuck are you talking about? Bets it because Dominic is so persistent. He's like, no, go to DraftKings.
Yeah.
It's
plus money.
It's Borschev. Yeah, that one. By finish. Not just a win. By finish. And then it was like 30-26 across the board.
He got destroyed. So. Yeah. So that alone, I'm betting Mark Jacasey. But seriously, I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. Again, after what I saw in that one, coming into this against Damir Hadzovic, Damir has not showed me much. 3-3 in the UFC. I just think Mark's better everywhere. The younger guy, the higher potential. I think he gets it done. And Mason Jones, the other Welshman, you got him and you got Jack Swart leading the charge. Hopefully they don't go 0-2 back-to-back for the country's sake and for the bet slip's sake. I really do believe in Mason Jones, even though he's had a weird UFC career. 1-1 with 1 no contest. His lone win was against David Onama, funny enough. But he's going
a great fight.
It was a sick fight. He's going up against Ludovic Klein here. Ludovic's a good kickboxer, which makes me a little nervous because Mason Jones can get hit. But Mason Jones, the all-around better fighter, I think he has a very high ceiling. I believe in this kid. It is a up a weight class. It's kind of a short notice type deal here. Mason's going to be significantly bigger in this fight. I think he really puts together a performance in front of the UK crowd and gets it done. That's the bet slip.
Wow. What a moment.
A lot of plays this week. This is
a lot of play, and I mean, you're really doing the heavy lifting. I think you have 7 to my 5. I've always told myself, as long as you get 5 plays, like, you're good.
Yeah.
But it was a struggle to get the 5 this week. I'm being honest.
But you don't feel like you forced anything at the end of the day.
No, I didn't. Even though that one parlay is a Frankenstein's monster, like I am confident in it.
Yeah.
It's just like I usually. I'm kind of weird with my parlays. I kind of like them to be pretty. I like them to be all money line or all over unders or whatever. Yeah. So when I get
and 3 legs get scary.
3 legs again. It's a little out of my comfort zone, but I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Inevitably, Charles Johnson's gonna like one punch KO Mahayev, but it is what it is. But I personally did not love this card for betting. Obviously, I think we kind of flipped roles from last week. Last week you were very
I only had 4 plays last week.
You didn't love Long Island.
Yeah.
I was like loving it.
Yeah.
Here we're like flipped. So it's kind of good though that one of us feels very good about the card as a whole. Good vibes only around here.
Damn right.
Now let's end this show, Dom, with the only way we know how, and that's with closing statements. The point of the show where me and Dom can get anything and everything off our chest, MMA related or not. So Dominic, do you have any closing statements for this Friday edition?
I got nothing.
Well, I'll take the lead here and just say Stranger Things Season 4, I finally took the plunge.
Of course.
I am on the finale. Literally when we get off here, I'm going to order some roosters.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to watch that 2-hour and 20-minute finale.
That's a night right there. Oh.
I'm going to laugh. I'm going to cry.
You will cry.
I'm going to smile.
Everything in between.
I hope. I'm like reading Dom's face like, wait, am I not going to smile? Is everybody going to die? Okay,
everybody, the whole scale.
While I did have some stuff spoiled, due to the rabid Facebook fan base.
Yes.
Suck so bad. If you're watching this and you share Stranger Things memes on Facebook, you should be ashamed, and I'm sure your parents are disappointed in you. But Stranger Things Season 4 has been really good. Yep. I was gonna say fantastic, but it's gotta stick to landing.
Yeah, you get to let everybody know on Monday. That's the exciting.
I will update everybody on Monday with the finale. But I got to see all of the first part, and then obviously I've seen. I feel like there's a lot of filler like these episodes are pretty long.
Yeah.
I told Dom, while each episode in of itself has like an awesome moment or something that I love about it, I feel like you could shed off like 10, 15 minutes in every episode and you'd still have a very great season. I feel like they kind of made it, they wanted it to feel bigger. So I feel like that's why they inflated the episode lengths, just because it's a lot longer than
Yeah,
the
been a
previous
long
seasons.
time. Yeah.
But there's some terrific stuff in here. I mean, the performances are fantastic. It's just, it's my kind of shit. You know, I'm very, like I've said before, like I watch so many 80s and 90s movies that I feel so nostalgic for this like time period. This is when my dad was in high school.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't my time period at all. But it's just so cool to see how they really
nail it.
They bring that time period to life. And then,
Yeah.
you know, I grew up watching movies like E.T. and there was actually a really underrated movie I saw in theaters like 10 years ago called Super 8 that was also about kids like fighting monsters. Steven Spielberg executive produced it.
Yeah.
I just always have had like the Goonies. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I've always loved this concept of like kids or teens teaming up,
Yep.
friendship, fight to take on the big baddie, whatever it is.
Yep.
And here, like, you know, is it realistic that this random group of kids in Hawkins, Indiana have defeated the forces of evil for like 4 seasons in a row? Maybe not, but I don't care. I love it.
Exactly.
But I'm Noah Baker. That's Dominic Salive. We're the Below Average Joes. It's getting a little dark out. We'll see you guys on Monday.